Hi everyone, it's Penny Black and Jill Foster here for another PB&J card class. And in today's video, I am going to be creating with another of our newest Masterpieces Made Simple sets. Here's a peek at just a couple of the cards we'll be creating today. I'm actually going to be giving you 10 different card ideas using this same Masterpieces Made Simple set. So here's a look at the set we are using today. This is 50-011 Christmas Time. These are pre-printed panels on premium cardstock at 3 1/4 by 4.5 inches each. This is the coordinating sentiment set that we have designed to go perfectly with these particular panels, 30-926 Festive and Feathery. And if you hit pause there, you can really read those and see how they work perfectly with these panels. I just wanted to give you a close-up look here at what these Christmas time Masterpieces Made Simple panels look like, and they really do make making masterpiece cards for the holidays so simple. So we have curated some of our dies that work beautifully with this particular set. And the first die that we've curated is 51-402 Do Not Open. So if you like to make handmade tags, you can use this die to create tags with the Masterpieces Made Simple set, and they add a really beautiful homemade touch to gifts, to gift bags. So what I've done is I've die cut the Masterpieces Made Simple panels as well as some white cardstock. Now you would not have to make I'm making like a hinged tag. You would not have to do that, but I just wanted to have a place on the inside where you could have a stamped sentiment, write your to and from, give you some options. So I am inking the inside of these to match the panel that is going to go on top. Just using different colors, and I've decided to make 3 of these tags, and you can see there that I have scored along the top to create a hinge. I don't need to ink above that line because it will have adhesive on it. And I just wanted to warm that up a little bit, so I'm going to put some antique linen. Now all of the exact colors of inks, the supplies I'm using, and all of the Penny Black products are going to be listed for you down in the YouTube description box below. And I have also went ahead and linked all of the Penny Black products to our online store to make shopping more convenient for you. So what I've done here is stamped the sentiment onto this scalloped piece. This also comes as part of that Do Not Open tag die set. I'm adding adhesive only above the score lines, adding it to the panel that I inked. I'm going to put some liquid adhesive up here on the loop, and then I can take my die cut Masterpieces Made Simple panel and put that on top, and I will have a hinged tag with a sentiment stamped inside, and even a place behind where I can write a message or do a to from on there. So here's a look. You can see, and those sentiments come from that coordinating sentiment set, and you can see how perfectly they work with these Masterpieces Made Simple panels. If you wanted to go more simple, you could just die cut the Masterpieces Made Simple panels and just add those to your gift tag too, and write your to and from or message, or even stamp your sentiment on the back of that. So there's no wrong way to do it, but I just wanted to show you how you could kind of take that to the next level if you wanted to create a little hinge tag. And here's a look at what those look like once they are done. You could also use this die set with our other Masterpieces Made Simple sets as well. It's very versatile. Next up is another die that we have curated to work because it works great with these Masterpieces Made Simple, and this is 51-744 Joy Edger. And then also I really love the frame die set of our semicircle stacker with this particular set. I think it adds that great stitching detail look to it without being too busy and overwhelming with this particular Masterpieces Made Simple set. Now, to create this sort of hinged panel for the tag, you take the Joy Edger, the edger part or the border part, and run it through your die cutting machine on a piece of cardstock that you've already scored and folded. And that's how you're going to get this interactive die cut element. Then I have die cut the word joy that comes as part of that die set. I used like a light peach cardstock, and then I'm just adding a little bit of red distress ink. I believe this is Fired Brick at the bottom of that to get kind of an ombre look to that sentiment. So that ties into the different berries that are part of the Masterpieces Made Simple panel I'm going to use for this particular card. So I'm just kind of pouncing and swiping that ink blending tool with the foam pad on top, and I'm even going to pull in a little bit of rusty hinge right here on the top. You would not have to do this inking step if you don't want to. You could just die cut this from any type of matching colored cardstock. But I do love the look of adding a little bit of inking with the Masterpieces Made Simple panels. I also die cut this from some white cardstock, and I'm going to glue the two words together, and this just is an easy way to add a little extra dimension to that word joy. You don't have to do this step, but if you haven't ever tried this before, it really is dramatic on the card, but also very easy to do. So you can see that semicircle stackers panel there, the Masterpieces Made Simple panel, and now I'm going to take this piece that we die cut earlier. I'm going to add my adhesive. I just use double-sided tape on the back. And then the rectangular piece in the background of white cardstock, that is a standard size 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch. But I am going to use this part to be the opening for the card. So I adhered that down, and now I'm going to add this panel that has that semicircle frame to it. And again, I really do like this particular sort of frame and stitching look because it is there, but these Masterpieces Made Simple have a lot of details to them. You've got the vases, you've got the splattering of snow, you've got a lot of greenery stamped on some of them, and so I really find that this frame die is a great match with these because it's there, it adds that finishing touch, but it doesn't take away or start to feel too busy. I'm going to now add my word to the card. Just little dots of glue. I'm using Tombow Mono Liquid Adhesive, but you can use whatever you like. I just like this particular glue because it's very forgiving. If it squirts out or you get too much or you end up having to move things around a little, it dries clear. And then here I can add that Masterpieces Made Simple panel just right to the inside of the card. And you have this piece that opens up and is interactive. And you can see there I did go back and stamp my sentiment down there at the bottom left hand side, and I added a couple of die cut snowflakes with self-adhesive pearls to the top of that panel. So that's from 51-268 A Blizzard, and I just added those up there at the top to add to that snowy effect. Next up, I wanted to show you another way that you can use that joy die and these pre-printed panels. I'm using a Wink of Stella glitter pen, and I'm going to color right on top of those ornaments. I've stamped that coordinating sentiment, "May your season sparkle," which is the perfect time to get out your glitter. It's hard to see in the video and on the photos, but it really is a pretty touch. And then I just layered that onto my card base. I used that semicircle stacker die, and I put that word joy without the edger part just right across the top. Here is another card that I've done. I stamped festive and feathery on there, and this has that more interactive element. So lots of different ways that you can use that joy edger die and the semicircle stackers to create with these Masterpieces Made Simple. And here is another look at all of those finished cards. I love with these interactive cards, they can stand up on their own. You can write your message or sign your name on the left side or underneath your stamped greeting, but they're just really fun and very simple to put together. Now another die that we have curated that goes really well with this particular Masterpieces Made Simple set is 51-673 Juniper. So I've die cut this from smooth white cardstock, and I'm going to ink it using my ink blending tool and a foam pad, just sort of pouncing that ink right on top. You could also die cut this from colored cardstock. You could cut it from watercolor paper and paint it, whatever way you prefer to get the color onto your die cuts. And then I've used that semicircle stackers die, but I ran two dies together, so I cut sort of like a window from the center, and I'm going to slide this juniper right up in here, so part of it sort of extends over the top of that frame in that window, and then I will just add some adhesive here to make sure that's glued down. And I just love how these dies add so much to the Masterpieces Made Simple sets. You also can see that coordinating sentiment stamped there. I layered this onto some colored cardstock, and then I'm popping that piece up with foam squares onto a standard size card, and the card is complete. And here is a look at that finished card with the juniper and the semicircle stackers die, and of course that coordinating sentiment stamped on top. Here is another idea with that juniper die and the semicircle stackers. I'm just taking some pieces of the semicircle stackers. I have adhesive on the back of my Masterpieces Made Simple panel, and I just laid it on top of the semicircle stacker die cut pieces, and then I'm trimming off the excess, and then you can create just this border along the edge. Got it on there a little crooked, so we'll just try that again. But another way to use that, to get that stitching look, to add that extra something special to these Masterpieces Made Simple panels, to make them your own, to give them that handmade touch. Then I'm going to lay this across a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch card panel, and you'll see there is a little excess that hangs off the edge, and I will just trim that off. And then I inked up that juniper die just like I did on the previous card, and I'm going to glue that on top of this panel, kind of hanging down here from the top. Just add some texture up there, and again that handmade touch. I think these Masterpieces Made Simple panels are so fun to work with. If you get the coordinating products and just lay it all out on your desk, it feels like it's like having a kit, and you can put together so many different variations and just let your creativity run wild. Again, I've stamped that coordinating sentiment on there, and it goes great with those bulbs. Now here I wanted to show you another way that you can really make these your own, add lots of handmade touches to them. I'm going to start with our footnotes stamp. So I'm going to ink up this cardstock here just a little bit. I'm trying to match up the colors on the deer. And I can't remember if I mentioned it, but all of the ink colors of everything I'm using in the Penny Black supplies are listed down in the YouTube description box below. So I'm going to ink this up, and then I'm going to take that footnote stamp and stamp on top just to give this kind of a vintage look. I'm stamping in my stamp positioning tool just so I can stamp it a couple of times. Now I'm actually going to tear my pre-printed panel, kind of curl up those edges, and I will put that on top of that inked and stamped panel. And just that little touch can add so much to the card. But I decided to go all in on this card. So I've also die cut my background panel using our textural die, which adds that just sort of textural look to the background. And I'm going to ink on top of that. You would not have to do all this inking like I've shown you before. You can make these go as simple with these panels or do as much handmade touches as you like. All the cards end up looking beautiful. There's something special about each one. I'm going to darken up that inking just down here in the corners, starting with using my ink blending tool and a foam pad, starting off the edge and working my way on in a circular motion. I like to start with a light pressure and build up and darken the color by doing a lot of different layers as opposed to a heavy pressure right from the start. I mounted that panel with the torn edge on using foam squares and popped it up just a little bit, and you can see there I also stamped one of those coordinating sentiments. So now here are a couple other, this is a new die of ours, stocking stuffers and the joy of giving. And I've just pulled some of the stems from these new dies to create this next card. So with all of the Masterpieces Made Simple sets, we have 3 new sets coming out in our Christmastime 2022 collection. I wanted to challenge myself to use the Immense Joy die cut, which you're going to see here in just a minute. And I love using this with the Masterpieces Made Simple set. It really wasn't a challenge at all. It was easy to do. But for this one, I wanted to tuck a few of the stems, these different stems, in with it. So I just pulled from my stash from these new creative dies, these little stems that I can tuck into the card. So I'm just inking them up right now. Again, you could cut them from colored cardstock, but this is just a totally different way to use the Masterpieces Made Simple panels. So I've got all those stems ready. And then here is that Immense Joy die cut. What I love about this die is when you use it with the Masterpieces Made Simple sets, you can cut your Masterpieces Made Simple set and insert that center piece into the middle of the O. So I'm layering up 2 of this, this joy. I cut it 2 times and I'm layering them up just to add a little extra dimension on the front of the card. And this is that semicircle die set. I've masked off the actual stitched looking edge and I am applying my ink to the background using an ink blending tool and a foam pad, and you can see when I tear off that painter's tape it reveals that stitched edge, and that is just one of my favorite ways to use these types of dies. And I'm going to assemble the card now. I'm going to add a few dots of glue onto the Immense Joy die cut. And that's going to layer right on top of the card. You can see I've stamped one of the coordinating sentiments onto that pre-printed panel that then will fit right into the center of that Immense Joy die cut. Just a really fun way to use these panels. You can see there's no wrong way to use them. And then here are those little sprigs that I inked up that I just wanted to add to sort of continue that look of the background of that panel towards the outside of the word joy. So I'm just trimming them up as needed and gluing them down. And I also wanted to be sure to have that red to tie in with those red berries over on the right hand side. And here is a look at that finished card. I also added a little twine bow with a self-adhesive pearl on the center. And the finished card. I sure hope you've enjoyed today's video, getting some ideas with these new set Christmastime of Masterpieces Made Simple. I also have done another video featuring another one of our Masterpieces Made Simple sets. I'll be sure to link it down for you in the YouTube description box below. And I have a third video coming with the third set, so be sure to subscribe and like this video, and that third video will be coming very soon. Thanks so much for watching, and happy stamping!